A federal judge has ordered the return to the U.S. of a Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. The federal government had previously admitted it mistakenly deported him to his home country. Kilmar Abrego-Garcia lived in Beltsville, Maryland with his wife, Jennifer, and their 5-year-old son. The government says he is in the MS-13 gang, and he has fervently denied that claim. Abrego-Garcia was removable from the country. He was eligible for deportation, but he had a court order stating that he could not be deported to El Salvador because he had demonstrated a credible fear that he would be killed. His wife speaking to reporters.
Kilmar, if you can hear me, I miss you so much. And I'm doing the best to fight for you and our children.
And this is a live look right now outside that federal courthouse in Greenbelt, Maryland, where that ruling just came down. And you can see there are protesters there with smiles on their faces as we have heard that. Do we want to listen in here? Okay. In the meantime, we actually have the director at Robert A. Levy Center for Constitutional Studies, Thomas Berry, joining us now. Thomas, good to see you. Obviously, that is breaking news here. What happened? What do we know?
Well, this is a big development in the case. The government had argued that it was impossible to have a court order to bring this person back to the country because the government of the United States argued that he's in the custody of El Salvador. They have no power to bring him back. The person who was removed, his attorneys said that we should at least ask nicely, and also we're paying for him to be held there. We're giving money to the government of El Salvador. So at the very least, we can get a court order asking our government to ask their government to bring him back and to stop sending money for his detention. So clearly the judge thought those arguments were strong and persuasive, and now we're going to see whether the U.S. government complies with this court order.
How does this work? How does a federal judge in the United States of America tell El Salvador you must return this person back to America when they're not even a U.S. citizen?
It seems like it has to be, U.S. court orders have to operate against the U.S. government, so it has to be a chain reaction type of thing. We ask the U.S. federal government to use its diplomatic powers, but clearly this is a close collaboration between the U.S. and El Salvador. This was an agreement that these people being deported would be held at this particular prison, and the U.S. would help pay for their being detained there. So clearly this U.S. judge thought that effectively we have the power to get him back by using our diplomatic power, our powers of persuasion, and maybe the power of the purse, withholding this money.
And we know that the Trump administration has close ties with Nayib Bukele, the president there of El Salvador. The critics will say, why are we bringing back someone who is under an illegal status here at the United States, who the government alleges has ties to a highly criminal gang known as MS-13? Why is this happening? Is it because of how it went down, more so because of the error that happened that led to him being sent back to El Salvador?
Yeah, it's because there's a clear error that even the U.S. government admitted. Even if someone is generally deportable, if there's a withholding order that says you can't be deported to a particular country because it's particularly dangerous, courts have to comply with that, and the federal government has to comply with that. And I think this just shows the danger of wrongful deportations when the federal government moves too fast and lumps everyone into one category without checking whether these prior adjudications exist. And that seems to be what happened here.
And we're seeing video there of Abrego's wife there in court in Beltsville after this was just ordered by the judge. Thomas, before we go, is there the possibility or a probability that this man is brought back to the United States, he goes back before a judge, and now there is a legal deportation order that sends him back?
There could be a legal deportation order to a different country other than El Salvador. To send him back to El Salvador, the government would have to appeal that withholding order, which seems unlikely. So it seems like the easier path would be to attempt to deport him somewhere else, but that would also be subject to challenge and likely have to go before an immigration judge.
And for people who are unclear on what that means, the withholding, he was reporting to a judge under the guise that the government was alleging that he had these ties. Since 2019, he's been reporting to the judge. He has no criminal record, even though the government maintains that he has those ties to MS-13. What exactly does this withholding mean, and why does that come about for people who are believed to be engaged in criminal activity?
effectively, it balances that concern that he's engaged with criminal activity with the threat that he would be illegally tortured or subject to some other kind of persecution in a particular country. So he is Salvadoran, he grew up there, and he claimed that his family was at risk of persecution by gangs in his native country, so that particular country would be unacceptably dangerous for him to be deported to. So this withholding order essentially said you can deport him to other countries, but not El Salvador. It's just too dangerous. But clearly the government didn't comply with that here.
Thomas, thank you so much. We'll see how quickly the U.S. government acts and, of course, the response there from El Salvador.
Thank you for having me.
Let's move